So we could check with if statements if this is wall 1, or if it's wall 2, or if it's wall 3. But you could see the problem. If we had 100 walls in our game, we'd have to have 100 if statements. So instead of using the name, we're going to use the tag. What is that? If I come back over to Unity and look at wall 1, every game object has a tag. Most of them are untagged unless you change it. If I drop down the menu here, these are the tags I can use so far: game controller, player, main camera. However, I'm going to add a new tag. And here, there's a little plus sign you can add a tag with. I will name it wall and save. So now you can see I have a new tag that I've created, and I can use that to tag any of my objects. So if I go back to wall 1, it's still untagged, but if I hit the drop down now, I do see wall. And now I have tagged wall 1 as a wall. So it's a way to categorize objects. If I go to wall 2, I can make that a wall. Wall 3 should be a wall. And wall 4 should be a wall. If I come back to my code, I'm going to, from that game object, not print out the name, but print out the tag. I'll save it and run it. So you see that untagged is being printed out. That's because we're hitting the floor, and the floor is not tagged. But if I run over to a wall and hit the wall, it says wall. And it doesn't matter which wall I run into, it always says wall. Okay, so instead of printing out the tag, we're going to use that in an if statement. We'll say if that tag is equal to wall. Make sure you're using the double equal sign and that your capitalization for wall is exactly as you created it when you made the tag. Take out that semicolon. And what do I want to happen when I hit a wall? For now, it's just going to be a debug.log. Hit wall. So you can see my style of programming is to just write 1 or 2 lines of code and then test. I don't try to write an entire script and then hope it all works. I'm going to save this and run it. And it says, yay, it didn't make a collision with the floor. It didn't print anything out. And that's good. If I run over to a wall, then it says hit wall, hit wall. Notice it hits the wall many, many times, because if I hold down my forward key, I'm constantly hitting over and over. We'll see if that causes any problem when we play the audio. Okay, so now we need the code to play an audio source. Where is this audio source going to exist? Where is it going to be? If I look at first person controller, I see it already has an audio source. And if you open that up, it's empty. It's not being used. But we remember in the code for first person controller that that audio source is being used to play footstep sounds and jump sounds and landing sounds. And so the clip for the audio source constantly changes because of the code in here. I don't really want to mess with that, and I cannot add a second audio source here. So I think I'll put my audio source on the wall. I'm going to go to wall 1. Let's go in the project window, assets, audio, and with wall 1 selected, I just want to drag over the thud sound. It's the only sound that a wall will make. If I open this up, I can see the thud audio source here. It says play on awake, which I do not want it to do. I don't want it to play immediately. We will have it play based on the code we write instead. Now, if we were going to have a lot of walls, and each one of them would have its own audio source, then it would probably make sense to create one wall, add the audio source, add anything else special about our walls, including the tag, and then we could drag it down into our project folder, and we would have a prefab of that wall. So then every time I created a new wall, I could start from that prefab, and it would already have the audio source and the tag and anything else special we did to that game object. But I don't want to go backwards and do all that, so I'm going to each wall and making these changes manually. So now all of our walls have a tag of wall and an audio source of thud that does not play on awake. Let's go back to the script. We're going to remove this debug.log, and we want to play the audio source of the wall we just hit. So I'll create a variable called src to hold the audio source and set it equal to that audio source component. We do that using the getComponent method. With the getComponent method, we also have before the parentheses these angle brackets so that we can specify inside of that what the type of object is we're getting. So it is an audio source component. So anytime you have a single equal sign, it always evaluates the right side first. So in this case, from this hit object, it grabs the collider from that, and then it says what game object does that collider belong to. And then from that game object, it gets a component off of that game object. And what type of component is it getting? It's getting the audio source component. And then we're storing that into the src variable so that we can more quickly refer to the audio source component without having to write all of that code every time we want to refer to the audio source. Let's say src.play. Save this and run it. Okay, no sound yet because I haven't hit a wall yet. I heard the thud. Seems to be a little bit of a delay. It isn't repeating itself over and over, that's good.